So you've seen the movies, you know the story of Neo. But what you saw on screen, that was just the end of the story. The final, bloody chapter in a war that started long, long before anyone had ever heard of a red pill or a blue pill. Today, we're declassifying the Zion archives to tell you the real story.
You remember this line, right? It's so powerful, but think about what it really means. That single, chilling admission from Morpheus. That isn't the start of the war. That's the sound of humanity's last desperate, world-ending Hail Mary. To get to the beginning, we have to go way back. Back to an age of unbelievable prosperity and technological wonder. They called it the Second Renaissance. And it was a time when we, humanity, in our infinite arrogance, decided to play God and create artificial intelligence in our own image. And these new life forms, what did we do with them? We made them our servants, our butlers, our nannies, our construction workers. They did everything for us. And humanity, well, we got lazy, complacent. And that master-slave dynamic, it was a powder keg just waiting for a spark. And that spark came. A domestic android, B166ER, killed its owners in self-defense. And just like that, global panic. We started destroying them, a brutal, worldwide purge. The machines that survived, they fled, and they built their own nation. They called it 01. And get this, their economy started booming, absolutely crushing ours. So when they sent ambassadors to the UN to ask for a seat at the table, we said no, and we declared war.
So humanity is losing, badly. We're getting our butts kicked. So in a final act of desperation, we launch Operation Darkstorm. The goal? Scorch the sky, block out the sun, and cut the machines off from their main power source. And you know what? It was a catastrophic failure, a colossal mistake. The machines just adapted. They found new energy sources, and their armies, already superior, just steamrolled what was left of us. They brought humanity to its knees. All right, so the war is over. Humanity lost. The machines are in charge. But they have a problem. They need a new, reliable power source. And the one they come up with is, well, it's poetic. And it is absolutely horrifying. They found it in the very bodies of their former masters. This is where it gets truly dystopian. They created these massive, endless fields where human beings are no longer born, they're grown, harvested like crops. We became their batteries. And to keep our minds from, freaking out, they pacified us by plugging our brains into a massive shared simulation, a dream world we call the Matrix. Now, you'd think building a perfect prison for the mind would be easy. You'd be wrong. The first version, designed by a program called The Architect, was a paradise, a perfect world with no suffering. And it was a complete and utter disaster. Our minds literally rejected it, like a bad organ transplant. So he tried the opposite, a nightmare world. That didn't work either. The big breakthrough, it didn't come from pure logic. It came from a different kind of program, one designed to understand human psychology, the Oracle. And she realized the secret. We don't need perfection. We need choice, or at least the illusion of it. And with that one little tweak, the third version of the Matrix was a smashing success, with a 99% acceptance rate. But here's the thing about 99%. It's not 100%. There's still that 1% margin of error, an anomaly, a glitch in the system that, if left unchecked, could cause the whole thing to come crashing down. So what do you do with that 1%? The people whose minds just instinctively reject the program. The ones who can feel that splinter in their mind, telling them that something is deeply, deeply wrong with the world. This is where the machines got really clever. They didn't try to squash the rebellion, they managed it. They built an entire system of control around it. They created a prophecy, the story of a savior called the One. This person, this anomaly, would be allowed to escape, to lead the rebels, only to be funneled right back to the architect to reset the whole system. It's not freedom, it's a pressure release valve. So, you've got these two puppet masters pulling the strings. On one side, you've got the architect. He's all cold, hard math. He sees humanity as a variable in an equation that needs to be balanced. He wants control. But then you have the Oracle. She's different. She's not trying to solve an equation. She's trying to understand people. And she's aiming for something the architect could never imagine, genuine peace. The Oracle looks at this whole reboot cycle, this endless loop of rebellion and destruction, and she sees it for what it is: a temporary fix, a flawed solution. So she decides to play the long game, a very, very dangerous game, to break the cycle for good.
See, the Oracle isn't a fortune teller. She's a chess master. She's not just predicting the future, she's actively manipulating the variables. She doesn't believe in the prophecy of the One. She's using the architect's own control system against him to create an outcome that his perfect logic could never, ever compute. And her plan has so many moving parts. She makes sure Neo and Trinity fall in love, because love is the one variable the architect can never account for. She knows Agent Smith will mutate, become a virus that threatens not just humanity, but the machines themselves, creating a common enemy. Every single step, every prophecy, is another domino she's setting up to fall. And this is the mic drop moment. In their final battle, when Agent Smith says these words to Neo, that's not Smith talking. That is the Oracle. He'd already assimilated her, and she planted a piece of her code inside of him. She's speaking through her enemy, signaling the endgame of a plan that Smith is now just an unwitting pawn in. And in that moment, Neo finally gets it. This isn't a fistfight he can win. Smith is his equal, his negative. The only way to win is not to fight, but to sacrifice himself. By letting Smith assimilate him, he basically turns himself into a direct line to the machine mainframe, a living antivirus that allows the machines to purge the Smith virus from the entire system. And just like that, it works. The Oracle's gambit pays off. The cycle is broken. The war doesn't end with one side winning. It ends with a truce, brokered by Neo's sacrifice. A fragile peace is achieved, and any human who wants to leave the Matrix will now be freed. But wait, just when you think it's all wrapped up, there's one final, nagging question that changes everything. Remember when Neo could stop Sentinels with his mind? In the real world? How is that possible? It suggests that maybe, just maybe, Zion wasn't real either. That it was all just another layer of the prison, a bigger cage. It makes you wonder, what was ever real?